always perfect for editing purposes. Anyways, welcome everyone back to my series where I'm talking to 25 different college football fans. And what I'm doing is I have my own top 25 that I have kind of organized. And so what I wanted to do is talk to 25 different fans of my top 25. And then the way I will release them will be in order of the teams I think are ranked in the top 25. So you won't know when this is going to be released. So there's that. I think that's the fun of it, right? Is like giving you a little bit, but not giving you too much. So that is what we're here. Then, as you can tell, we're here to talk about all things LSU Tigers. And I'm actually excited for this. This is our first conversation. And so thank you for joining me. And I would love for you to just like introduce yourself and let us know more about you. And then we'll talk a little bit about these LSU Tigers.
Well, I won't do the interview if you don't assure me they're number one.
Well, no assurances.
Let me call all 12 of my agents that booked me for this interview. I was like, I didn't know we were going to be ranked. I don't like getting hit to the left or right. Now, my name is Carter. I've been doing LSU content since I went to school there as many moons ago, and I have my own LSU YouTube channel, and that has led to me having my own national college football channel and my own national NFL channel. So
love that.
It all started with LSU, and I love the SEC. I just love football. I love breaking it down. I love just culture conversations about what makes this sport beautiful, despite all its warts and changes and all of that. And I've also been very blessed to get to do a lot of this, a lot of interviews and fun things in my career. And it's all because of something I am indeed very passionate about. So it's really good to be with you, Tanisha. Is it correct? Yes. Okay. I wrote that down. Right. Make sure I put the capital in there.
I love it. And also, I am so glad to be a part of the something fun you get to do in this industry. So thank you for saying that out loud.
Yeah, this is big for me. I'm
You've made it.
That's it. But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited about LSU this next year. We're going into year 4, the Brian Kelly era. But I'm also, very fortunate as an LSU fan that I've gotten to experience basically the peak. This has been the 20-year peak. Yesterday I clipped an interview Nick Saban did going into the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame. That's kind of going viral on Twitter. I didn't think it was going to go viral. I just clipped his interview that he did about what actually got this thing going. He was a coach at Michigan State. LSU was 3-8 at the time, which is crazy to think about.
That is crazy.
And it's crazy because football and football media is such a male-dominated thing. I love seeing females become a bigger part of not only you normally think female sideline reporter and stuff like that, but I like to see more females like yourself, Tanisha, getting into the commentary side of things, because what a lot of LSU fans, and I knew this before Nick said this, but he just confirmed all of this, is that it was actually his wife, Miss Terry Saban, that got this whole thing started. Nick was still coaching at Michigan State. He didn't want the cover to be blown that he was serious and going to LSU. So in a covert mission, it was actually Miss Terry who did the campus tour, who evaluated everything. And it was Miss Terry who told him to make this leap. And that started what LSU has been over the past 20 years, which is an undoubtedly top 5 college football program. And then obviously with all the other shenanigans that happened amongst that as well, it started the Alabama re-dynasty. So it all started with a very powerful wife, and Miss Terry got this thing going. So it's fun looking at the history while also enjoying the present.
I love that. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I've been fortunate enough to be in Baton Rouge, to go to Baton Rouge, to experience like the experience of Baton Rouge. How would you describe Baton Rouge to somebody that maybe hasn't been there, or maybe somebody, especially like Baton Rouge, like football season, and then like a game, like how would you describe that? This is not a question I prepared you for, by the way, but like how would you describe the atmosphere being in Baton Rouge around football And besides the food being amazing and everybody there for football, like how would you describe that experience?
Don't forget to hit that like button if you haven't already. Don't forget to make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. And if you think about it, turn on those notification bells. And maybe if you want to make me really happy, leave me a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you think about this video.
Yeah, Baton Rouge actually reminds me in many ways of Austin, Texas, a city that you know quite a bit about. It's not as big or whatever, but it's a capital city that isn't quite what you would consider to be a college town per se.
Yep.
It is a college town, right? When you think Louisiana, you think New Orleans. When you think Texas, you think Dallas or Houston. You don't think Austin, but the city itself has a lot of history, right? And Austin has a very interesting history in and of itself. So they're very similar in that. I don't consider it like a college city like a Starkville or an Oxford. It's a little bit different. But Baton Rouge is an absolutely beautiful city. A great place where a lot of coaches and their families, we mentioned Miss Terry a minute ago, like to be. Right. LSU also is the brand. And I understand I'm Power Hour LSU and all that. And I'm a big fan. And I made the joke about you better put them in. But I've built LSU, my channel on objective analysis. I'll be critical when it needs to be critical. Sometimes too critical to where it gets some people at LSU not too happy, which is fine. But lucky enough, I've been able to develop really good relationships. And most people kind of sort of like me, which is fine. But LSU is the brand. All of that aside, it is the cool brand. Just this past week, I had the good fortune to go to Fanatics Fest in New York City. It's the biggest fan extravaganza. LeBron was there, Brady was there, Travis Scott.
Is that where Katie found out he was being traded?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was in the room next. Doing actually an interview, not like an interview like he was doing, but I was just doing an interview. But most of the athletes and influencers there were LSU grads, from football stars like Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase, to a gymnast in Livy Dunn. There was a big Paul Skeens exhibit. Obviously, he couldn't be there because of his obligations. Todd Graves was there. He's an LSU guy, obviously Cane's Chicken and all of that. And LSU is the cool school right now. And that has been the case now for a decade. So Baton Rouge, even though it's big, it is the LSU town. It still runs things. It still runs the roost. The campus is still very beautiful, from the live Tiger to the Saturday nights in Death Valley. So, I know that comes off to your audience as, well, this is just an LSU fan.
Because you just validated everything I've always said about Baton Rouge. I always say it is just like Austin. The feel is like Austin. Obviously, Texas is a bigger state. But the feel, the experience, what the university means to that city is the same as Austin. And so you literally said everything I've always said. I just feel like people that have never been there are like, girl, here you go. You think everything compares to Austin. I'm like, no. Like Baton Rouge, Nashville, like certain cities, in my opinion, are very similar to Austin. I just feel that way. So thank you for agreeing with me.
No. And look, you've probably been to Baton Rouge more than I've been to Austin. I was in Austin for 2 nights, and then I was doing comedy both nights. So I wasn't like, I didn't get to like fully go through everything. I went to Terry Flex, obviously, because I love food. But yeah, LSU is the school when it comes to being the cool school. There's, like we mentioned, you don't even need to be that great of an athlete. If you're playing at LSU, if you're playing for Kim Mulkey or Jay Johnson or whatever, even the bench warmers, they'll see their social media accounts rise. They'll get local NIL deals and all those things. And I'm not saying the other schools don't have brands. That the Texas brand is still, still so massive to Georgia and all of that. But it is cool that the school that I grew up rooting for ended up being this school that Cardi B mentions in a song. So
the system has given you a thumbs up.
Yeah, I don't know why. Sometimes I still don't know why that does. Like, I'll be in the middle of it. I'll be
I
in the
love it.
middle
Listen,
of a
I
post.
want to say this, then I'll get to the first question. I think that we need, like, just because you're praising your school doesn't mean any other school is less than, or
Yeah,
like, I don't understand why people get so bothered. It's like, I can say the University of Texas is an amazing school, and that doesn't mean that every other school isn't amazing. It just means
yeah.
the University of Texas is cool. So so I feel you on that. So, okay, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this 2025 LSU team.
Yeah.
What would success look like for you? Like, what are you looking for? What are you hoping to see this year?
Yeah, so it's important whenever you're discussing these programs to put them in hierarchies, right? So I consider 3 schools the schools that probably should make the playoff every single year, and that's Georgia, Alabama, and Ohio State. Those 3, if you look at blue chip ratio, you look at their recruiting advantages, NIL advantages, and whatnot, those 3 schools need to make the playoff every single year. And then obviously in that next tier, you have, to me, Texas, LSU, Michigan, and a few others that probably should be making a 12-team playoff at the very least once every 2 seasons. So Brian Kelly has been here 3 years. He has not made the playoff once. Obviously, the first couple of seasons, it was, 14 playoffs and all of that. He also had one of the best Heisman Trophy winners of all time at quarterback. It just couldn't field a defense. And then obviously this past year, the roster was probably the weakest he's had at LSU. And there was a few reasons as to why their NIL wasn't as organized and where it needed to be. And now after a big recruiting miss with Bryce Underwood, it is, very much organized. And they have spent nearly as much as anyone to put together Tanisha, one of the best defensive rosters that they have had under Brian Kelly. So the defense should be a lot better on all 3 levels than what it was last year with a second-year defensive coordinator in Blake Baker. And then obviously offensively, you have Arch Manning at Texas, and then you also have Garrett Nussmeier at LSU. They were together at the Manning Passing Academy, to where, the big difference between the two is Garrett has proven to do it for an entire season as a starter.
100%.
Garrett is an amazing quarterback who's had turnover issues. And if he cleans up the turnovers, and if they have some key pieces on the offensive line step up, it should be close to, if not actually hoisting the Heisman at the end of the year. It should be a Heisman caliber season from number 13.
Okay. I like it. And so success to me, I think you're saying, is that LSU needs to be in the playoffs. Like that would be success. That would be a step in the right direction. Okay. I love that.
Yes.
What do you think the biggest like strength is of this 2025 team?
Yeah, obviously Garrett is one of them. This is going to be a very fast offense. I think if you were to put together the skill position players for LSU, a tight end, running back, and wide receiver, this is one of the faster skill position teams that they have had. Caden Durham out of Texas, Duncanville High School, runs a 10.29 100 meter, had a ridiculously good true freshman season. He comes back at the lead back. Chris Hilton is one of the fastest wide receivers at LSU ever. And they went and got Berrien Brown out of the transfer portal, who is probably slightly faster than him. And then they also return Aaron Anderson. So this skill position group, as great as it might sound on paper, it might not be as good as some of these other skill position groups over the past couple of seasons, but they're still really daggum good. They're definitely at bare minimum a top 10 national group of skill offensive players. But the biggest thing is the defensive side of the football. Last year, Tanisha, that I did not, and I said this going into the season, so I'm not just changing up. I'm just, being
being honest,
as direct. I thought talent-wise they were lacking, and it proved to be the case, in particular in the secondary. Well, that's where most of their resources were spent, and they actually spent resources, once again, on all 3 levels of the defense. So really, when you think historic LSU football, you think defense, right? Over the past 5 years, it's been all about offense, with Malik to Jaden to
that's true,
Jamar and Joe. But 2018 previous, it was Glenn Dorsey. It was
all defense.
It was Devin White, and obviously Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Matthew. So, you know, and they had great offensive players mixed in there, Leonard Fournette and so on. But they were known for having better defenses. So what a lot of people in Baton Rouge want is they want to keep, obviously, explosive offenses. But
of course.
They
you want everything to be perfect.
Right. But at the very least, they just want LSU Tiger defense to be what it used to be, which were a bunch of bloodthirsty savages. And that's been missing over the past couple of seasons. And I think it will make a small bounce back this next year.
So having said that, are you heading into the season? Are you thinking that right now the biggest weakness or the biggest area for improvement is the defense? Is there a specific position that you're like, we've got to start here? Or is it like our linebackers are decent, it's just we don't get any pressure up front? Like how, or is it just the defense overall? How do you feel?
I would say the secondary in particular. Last year was the worst LSU secondary maybe ever of the modern era, at least since Saban has been there. And even before that, they had guys like Ryan Clark and so on. So they've had
good old Ryan.
They've had other good defensive backs. Now, I'm not saying the unit didn't have anyone that was good on it last year. They were just atrocious, putrid, terrible. And now they went out there and spent like crazy. They brought in Mansour Delane, who was the number one corner in the portal. They brought in a five-star corner out of high school in DJ Pickett. They brought in multiple safeties from the transfer portal, one from H-Town and AJ Halsey. So they went and fixed the problem. Now they have to come in and produce. So that is where the biggest hole lies. But where college football gets interesting, in particular in the SEC, where every program has money now, like, and with revenue sharing and all of it, everybody's got about a similar salary cap. Now, some schools like Texas will have rosters that they are paying in the 30 millions. Obviously, Sark pushed back on what that number actually is. But, you know, when you break it down philosophically, what's the one position that everyone's going to spend the most? Well, it's quarterback, right? So when you go out there and you buy a quarterback, you only really need to buy one, right? You need to, of course, make sure you have a good backup. So you got to pay him $1 million or whatever. But the point is, every team is going to have enough money to go get a good starting quarterback. So what changes in the SEC? Well, it used to be that you would play a lot of SEC teams that don't have good quarterbacks because we weren't in this era. But now when you take a look at the Southeastern Conference, everybody's got someone competent at quarterback.
Interesting. Yeah. That's a really good point. Because the SEC usually isn't known for quarterback play, right? It's like trenches, run game, stud right receivers. It's like, and then in corners. That's interesting. That's a really good point, though.
And it's more so the bottom half, right? The bottom half teams would. I mean, occasionally there would be like your Jay Cutler out of Vanderbilt or whatever, but more often than not, most of your bottom half teams just did not have good quarterback play. Whereas now everybody in the SEC is going to have baseline level quarterback play. I would say there's probably 2 or 3 SEC teams that I would consider to not have at least someone I would consider to be a top 40 or 50 college football starter at QB, which is crazy, right? That is a ridiculous amount. That's over 90% of your league. And there's guys that like Missouri's Bo Perbula, who's not really been a starter. He comes over from Penn State. And I did a film study on him on my SEC channel. I was blown away by the little bit that I saw of him. And no one's talking about him. He can really move and do some frisky things. So when I look at LSU, and it goes back to the LSU defense, so much of what you do defensively comes down to the quarterback and the offense you're facing.
Agreed.
So
agreed.
2 things can happen. This LSU defense could actually be better, but you're still going up against an absolute murderer's row of really good QBs. And where it gets really frisky is the biggest thing that LSU struggled with was mobile quarterbacks last year. All the quarterbacks on LSU schedule can flat out run. Now there's some elite runners like a Lenore Sellers and Taylon Green at Arkansas, but a lot of them have real juice. So LSU's their biggest weakness was stopping dual threat QB. So they must be better at containing the defense, not letting them run all over the place and making every quarterback look like prime Vince Young every week. So if they can get better in that aspect, they'll definitely win an extra game or two this year.
I love it. What is one game on the schedule you look forward to the most, and why? Yeah,
it's Clemson. I mean, there's just no.
Ooh, I wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Yeah, nothing comes close to that. Nothing. Like there's not. Okay. It's just not even.
Because that's game one, right?
Yes, and LSU has lost 5 consecutive season openers. So.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean.
I love it.
It's hurt LSU fans so much where if you ask them, hey, you lose the season opener, but you win the Natty next year, obviously you should still take the Natty, but there's a lot of LSU fans that would at least think it's been that painful
Interesting.
For over the past couple of years. So
okay,
you have that, and then you also have the Battle of Death Valley. So normally these high-profile season opening games are played at neutral sites, and the football gods are looking down on us. A lot of them are actual home and home. So LSU's actually getting to play in the fake Death Valley, Clemson's Valley with Howard's Rock. And then obviously the next year they'll come back, and then this is to me Dabo's best team since 2019, and obviously that 2019 Clemson team was very damn good, and they lost to the greatest college football team of all time in 2019 LSU. So even though in theory conference games mean more, I can push against that now because you can lose multiple conference games and still make the conference championship and still make the playoff. Whereas in yesteryear in a 14 playoff, the season opener to me just didn't it mattered a lot, but all the conference games slightly mattered more. This Clemson game is just so big, and if LSU doesn't win, there's going to be a lot of discomfort amongst its fan base.
Okay. What game on the schedule feels like a trap game, or like one that could ruin your playoff hopes because like you didn't see it coming, or it's just in a bad spot, and you're just like, why do we have to play this team before this team?
Yeah, I would probably say Vanderbilt. I mean, this is a frisky Vanderbilt.
Sneaky Vanderbilt.
Yeah, well, you go on the road versus Vanderbilt. That's going to be sandwiched between two very big home games. Let me make sure I'm getting this right here. South Carolina and Texas A&M. So you'll get a bye week before that first game versus South Carolina, and then you have to go on the road and play Diego Pavia, where it's not the toughest place to play, but they're still going to be juiced up for it. And Vanderbilt loves to slow pace down, and Jerry Kill has pulled off many a great upsets, as has Diego Pavia. So that Vanderbilt game could be tricky. And honestly, you look at Arkansas, it's a team that every year is close, if not actually pulling off an upset. You got to play them after they have a bye week. And this could be the last rendition of the annual Golden Boot battle. And Arkansas, that's their Super Bowl every single year, is playing LSU, and LSU fans don't care as much about the rivalry. So that can always be considered a trap game.
Okay. If your team wins, if LSU just wins one game this season, what rival game would you be like, we have to beat them? Like, I don't care about it. Like, if we're going to have a bad season and we're going to go out on our sword, we have to at least beat this team.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, Tanisha, about LSU is they don't have like a direct rival.
Okay, this is what I wanted to ask, because some people, I've heard people say A&M. I've heard some people say Alabama. I've heard some people just be like, who is LSU's rival?
Yeah, so I was very fortunate to be a part of an exercise a few years ago where my buddy Dave Bartu reached out to 16 fans, and they said, list your number one rival. And then he also said, list who you would want the most to be on your permanent schedule. If you could pick 3 teams And LSU and my responses were, all over the place. But what was interesting is while LSU doesn't have a direct rival, LSU was mentioned the most in the top 3 out of all the other
everybody
schools.
else.
Yes. So it's a weird thing where a lot of teams do really get up to play LSU.
Okay.
In particular, Arkansas. You would think Arkansas would be their direct rival because they do share a lot of similarities. But it's such a one-sided rivalry. So for me, the answer is actually Florida. I think Florida has become LSU's most visceral rival.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's a very and there's a lot of recent history as to why going back to the Tebow years, but that game has always had a little extra something. And it was very natural. It wasn't anything kind of forced like a lot of rivalries are forced now. You can make a case to Magnolia Bowl versus Ole Miss, which you can make a case has been the SEC's best game of the past 5 years. Each of the last 3 Magnolia Bowls, the team that ended up losing was up by double digits at some point. So that means that it's been very chaotic games. Alabama, obviously the Saban thing and them beating LSU really badly for such a long time is always a sore point. This is a matchup where both teams have had bye weeks the week before playing each other since 2010, and that is by design because they both consider each other, one of the biggest games on their schedule. You can make a case Texas A&M, which they tried to make that a rivalry week game. Yeah, but Texas A&M and Texas should be the rivalry week game as much as any in the SEC. So, I mean, you could go on and on and on about this game I want the most or this game I want the most. But that's what makes being an LSU fan fascinating is because you don't have that one direct rival. So personally,
everybody can get it.
Yes.
Anybody who wants to go.
Personally, I would say Florida because this probably will be the last year that this is an annual matchup. And the all-time series history is like even. It's like 34, 33, and 3. It's always been a fun one for both fan bases.
Awesome. So if you could have one player from college football on your team right now, who would that player be and why?
Oh, from another team?
Another team. Any team.
In the SEC, we'll go with Colin Simmons, pass rusher for Texas. I know that because LSU really wanted him. That was a very ferocious recruiting battle. And Colin Simmons, of course, his teammate is Caden Durham. So defensively, I know there's probably a few better rush-ins, but I know how badly Colin was thinking about LSU. He picked Texas, and he's a phenomenal player. But the best player in college football is Jeremiah Smith. And, even though LSU is loaded at receiver, and I probably should pick an offensive lineman, Jeremiah Smith is just that dude. So I'd go with Jeremiah.
Okay. I love it. And then the last real question is like anything else you just want us to know, like heading into 2025, anything that's top of mind, anything that you find that you feel like you're talking about a lot as of late when it comes to LSU?
Yeah, it's interesting. So Brian Kelly is, in his mid-60s, but his staff is very young. They're under a lot of pressure. This is one of the most expensive staffs in college football, and it's a little bit different because, we talk so much about Austin and Texas, but Sark calls the plays, right? Where BK doesn't call the plays per se. So Joe Sloan, their offensive coordinator, is under a lot of pressure. Everyone thought that LSU run game was going to be special last year. It wasn't. So if you can get that run game going, LSU could be a very potent team. So I think the LSU rushing game is probably the biggest question mark offensively going into the season. Then obviously defensively, can you stop the run? Can you stop the rushing quarterbacks? That's going to be the biggest question. It's going to be a fun year. LSU, the one thing you can't ever accuse them of is not being interesting. And this will be, once again, one of the most interesting teams in any level of football.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you. I just thank you for taking the time, talking to me,
Yeah.
being willing to connect and all those things. And who knows what I'll put LSU. I kind of know, but I don't really know. So that will be fun once I release. But thank you. I will tag all of your location where people can find you. All of that information will be in the description. But I like to end on my guests. So anything you want to close this out with, as soon as you're done, I will hit the end button. But I just wanted people to know that I appreciate you.
Yeah. So where's the best place to eat in Austin?
Ooh,
It's
a good one. So if you've never been to Austin, I'll say Terry Black's if you can get in.
Oh, okay.
However,
okay.
if you can't get in though, I love Dean's. It's an Italian steakhouse downtown Austin. Love that. Perry Steakhouse is another good place. And if you come to Austin, you got to try like the food truck scene. Like if you find there's a lot of food trucks here. It's like food truck row, and it's like some of the best food you will get is if you find that food truck. So yeah, I would definitely say try it. Don't be scared to try some of those food trucks.
Yeah, it's weird because I want to shout out my guy John Sibley. He's a higher up at Texas, and he's a big supporter. He's from Baton Rouge, and he and I talk about it all the time. So I'm going to bring up those places. He wants you to come have dinner with him. See, the problem is my wife doesn't eat. She's like super skinny and healthy and all that.
My mom's like that. My
And
mom's
I hate that. Because I'm chubby and I freaking love to eat as much food as I possibly can.
Absolutely.
But I say that because I wanted to ask someone from that. I understand this is a worse closing statement. There's not a bad restaurant in Baton.
No, food is the best closing statement of all time.
Right. Well, it's funny because and I don't do stand up anymore, but I was getting ready to do my final show, and I was like, I typed in barbecue, and I just happened to be the closest to Terry Black's, and that is still the best barbecue I've ever eaten in my life. Yeah. And I kept saying, it's like, man, this is one of the best meals. So for you to say that, off the jump, makes me feel a lot better about myself.
I will say this though: have you been to Rudy's? Have you tried Rudy's barbecue?
No, I've
so a lot of people kind of are like Rudy. It's like, you know how if you want Italian and you go to Olive Garden and people are like Olive Garden for Italian. Rudy's is kind of like that because obviously Terry Black's here, but don't sleep on Rudy's. I'm just saying. Rudy's barbecue, you won't, if you wait in a line, it's not going to be as long as Terry Black's, but it's still some very decent barbecue that you can go in, have a good time. It will taste amazing. Will it be Terry Black's? No, but it will be some good barbecue, and they have great breakfast tacos. So
good. Well, Tanisha, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you ever need anything, let me know. I can't wait to see you be the next Stephen A. Smith or
oh my gosh, that's so kind.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
I appreciate you.
We'll talk.